And there's the garden bed. The construction class today got the ground dug down to try and make the bed level. One of the troubles with using partially wet timber, you can see how much the frames have warped since constructing. We've still got to put the end brackets, which is be made out of timber as well, and that'll basically hold it all together, and then a cap around the top just for aesthetics, I think. Rest of the garden is going well. This is all year 7 and 8 that do these ones. And you'll see they got some chilies and they got some spinach. I think they got some onions and tomatoes, that sort of thing. This is the timber that we kind of went, is this really worth trying to keep? Probably do a little bowl or something out of some of them, I don't know. Bit of afternoon gardening, hoping that these recover. Wife had bought some of these flowers and I didn't get them planted soon enough in front of the grasses. These ones are looking a little sad, but we've got a good compost underneath them and some good soil, so hopefully they bounce back and add a bit of colour into the garden. So I nominated my school to be part of a project, community project for building picnic tables. And I said my class would do one. They delivered the material, and then within 2 days, I think they contacted us and said, they've found out we're not allowed to use this material in the school. So they're being replaced with a non-treated or a differently safe treated material, and they're coming to collect it in the next couple of days, so we had to get this down. They've asked for it to be bundled. We don't have the resources here to bundle it, so I'm just stacking it ready to go. But we can't strap stuff. Anyway, but I've got to go and check their paperwork because I'm not sure if these 3 pieces were part of it or whether they were already in my rack, because I wasn't here when the delivery arrived. Bit of an update. It's Wednesday today, so there's only 2 days of update. Got back to school and vet coordinator showed me a new website that our RTO has put together called Evidence Central, and it's designed for collecting evidence from the kids for their clusters. They've made the website follow the cluster, developed as much of the cluster into an electronic format as possible. Quizzes have become self-marking quizzes, I believe. Haven't looked closely at that because my guys have already done the quizzes. It's based on Moodle, which is a learning management system, which Tafe uses a lot. I used it just recently for my tiling and joinery upgrade over at Meadowbank. So you do all the work online first, run through all as many of the modules as you could. And if there was a practical module, once you've done the prac, you would take a photo of it and upload that to the Moodle as your evidence. And that's the way that they look to be doing it for this, putting a lot more of the emphasis on the kids for collecting and delivering their evidence. It's a vet course, they're supposed to be doing what they would do in Tafe. In Tafe, a teacher's not going to chase them around and take photos of their stuff. They'll come and mark it, but they won't go and chase evidence. And that's one thing that we've been told, because in the past I would hunt for kids' booklets and mark them, and even if they weren't complete, to be able to give back to the kids, and then they wouldn't do anything about it anyway. We've been told you do not hunt them down, it's an assessment. The students, it's the onus on the students to hand it in, and that's the idea of this site. Looks brilliant. On Monday I had construction. Unfortunately, I only had like a third of the class because there was a driver's ed thing on during the day as well, which majority of my class were out at because they're that age. As soon as they went to the site, if they click log in, it will recognise them because they're in the department infrastructure. They could put in their USI number,
which is what Tafe uses as a student number, check their details. They could upload their white card if they've already got it. It looks really good. I had one of the kids test out a thing where they had to hand in a certificate from a previous assessment. Worked brilliantly. It tells me that it's there. I go in and say whether it's satisfactory or not. So hopefully this is going to streamline vet a lot in schools for the paperwork side for teachers. In my discussions with the teacher and the head teacher at Granville, they were complaining just as much as we do about the amount of paperwork, because it seems that the amount of paperwork that they've been expected to do has increased as well, and they just said, like, we don't understand why they've done this. It really increases the burden of vet courses. Be perfect for setting up for next year. For this year's class, we're already up to cluster 5, finishing off cluster 4. I don't know how I'm going to be able to backtrack some of the evidence, because this is, I don't want to be running 2 systems. I'd like to be able to jump straight into this and have this as the system and the only system. I've had Timber both days, Monday and yesterday. They're moving along, very small group, really relaxed class to be in. They're still working on their planning, and that is due in the next week. And I had Year 9 yesterday, and they were brilliant. Last period of the day, you'd expect them to be a little bit off, and they were all at different stages, so that's kind of an organisational nightmare for a teacher. But I actually like working like that. I can give an instruction and then assist the students who need it, and the ones who kind of have a good idea of what they're doing will be able to work on, and then if they have a question, I can go around and assist. And that's that whole thing of being able to differentiate your classroom. There's some kids I've really got to help out with marking out and setting out and using a tool for the first time. Some of the others can watch me demonstrate it and can just go and do it. And that's what you expect to see in a classroom. Not all the kids are going to be at the same level. But it was, for a last period lesson, it was really good. They packed up really well at the end. I came out feeling pretty energised, rather than beaten down. It was just a good way to finish the day yesterday. Today, I've got a big administration day. I'm going to be spending a lot of time on the timetable. I have construction last period in the day. Hopefully you can get some of the pieces cut for the garden bed, because that's set in place. Just needs to be connected together and have the capping put on the top. And I think once they do that, that could pretty much be that task done, unless there's a few little things left in the booklet. I'd like to get that finished so we can just get moving on to cluster 5, because cluster 5, the joinery one, is massive. I'd really like to move on and do the bricklaying one. Since I've just done the bricklaying, I think it'll be a lot more achievable for our kids. We're just not set up for it. Just not set up for it. We're set up for it for the next cohort. I discussed that with the boss on Monday, and he said, sounds great. You've got the room for it. Hump day. They just finished with Year 11. All the pieces cut out for the cap, that's the long ones, and the side pieces for the garden bed that's out there. So they'll hopefully get all of those pre-drilled, screwed together and put onto the garden bed out there tomorrow. And we can just complete the folder work and get on with cluster 5. So old timber gone, new timber back. And what it looks like is I just replaced it, H3 treated pine, which is good for outdoor exposure. But I think the last one was H4 in ground use, which isn't necessary and is a lot more toxic. I'm buggered, but I didn't want to keep it.
Year 11 got these top frames marked out, holes drilled, angles cut, all the miters. And they got those corner frames made. The only one that's not screwed in at the moment is the top section, but the bottom two are all attached with those little corner frames.